We all know vibe coding is here to stay, but nothing ruins the vibe, quite like not being able to log in. So let's go through how to set up authentication with Supabase and Next.js so your next vibe coding project can be off to a faster start. So just to orient yourself here, we have Next.js with a pages router. So each one of these is a route. So when I go to /auth, sign into your account, that's this. And just to prove that, we can change this over here and see that that does in fact change. So my AuthUI component is really where I'm actually doing the logging in, but I just wanted to show you the parent page where we're actually subscribing to an onAuthStateChange event. So this is what is going to listen for when we get a successful authentication from Supabase. So in this component, the AuthUI component, basically down the tree, we are going to log in, and then up the tree, this listener is going to be what actually reroutes the user to our dashboard page. So let's go in and take a look at our AuthUI component. So right here, this is where I click handle sign in, which is just attached to this form, right? No big deal. Here's a form, handle sign in, email address input, password input, email password. Really simple. So Supabase obviously makes this incredibly easy. We have Supabase set up already. I'm not going to get into that. I do want to get into kind of what, after you log in with somebody, how you authenticate certain pages, right? So for instance, in a real SaaS application, certain pages you want publicly available and certain pages you most certainly do not want publicly available. Also, you have to get a user ID and pull in information from the database about the user's stuff, make sure that user can't see other users' stuff, but it starts with authentication. So again, sign in with email and password. If we get a sign-in error, we can set the error and send it to the user. And here we have this documented. There's no redirect handled here. It is happening in pages/auth. So this is that parent component I was talking about earlier. On onAuthStateChange, we get a session and we can push to the dashboard. So I'm going to log this out just for fun so we can take a look at what the session looks like. So here's my email and I'll sign in. We get an access token and expires in refresh token type and this user in here. So Supabase is doing all of this. We can see the identity in here. This is the username and password. Here's our access token, etc. So this is the session, right? It just goes into the front end. If I go into the network tab, I should be able to see something in the cookies as well. So let's go into application and cookies, and we should have a session access token in here. So Supabase is being really nice and adding this to the cookies so that when I do something like a refresh, it's pulling from the cookie, it knows the user's already authenticated, and we can just kind of move on with our life. However, this dashboard page is not something I want everybody to be able to see. So if I go to /dashboard, I just went in an incognito mode, it redirects to /auth. So there's all this code where we have to check the user, make sure they're authenticated. We might have to check different roles to see if they should be able to access that page or what to show even on that page, and redirect here. And we might have dozens, maybe even hundreds and huge applications of pages that need to be authenticated. You don't want to rewrite that code every single time. So let's take a look at something we can do to make this layout enforce user authentication without having to rewrite the same code every time. So I'm going to jump into this dashboard code right here. And as you can see, there's a bunch of stuff happening here. This is one of NoCode's templates. It's a kind of fake like invoice application. It's not fake, it works. You can create a client and an invoice and stuff like that, but it's kind of like a just a sample application to get started. And in this dashboard page, this layout component right here is wrapping basically this entire page. So let's go into this layout page. And here's where really the session is being authenticated. So check initial session. I'm doing a use effect here on route change. So I could, if I wanted to, in this case, say which pages I want authenticated and which pages I don't. But generally speaking, what I do is I would have like a layout component, and anytime I use this this particular layout component, all of those pages would be authenticated. And if I didn't want it to be authenticated, I might have like a different layout component or just not use this layout component at all. So that's another way to do it too. But for this layout component, every page that uses this one must be authenticated. So again, in our use effect, right? So this is on router change. We check the initial session. And if there isn't a session, we push it to the auth page. So that's exactly what's happening here in incognito. I go to dashboard, and it immediately redirects to this auth page. So there you have it. Here's a component. You can see the code. There's nothing fancy in here. You could copy and paste this if you want to. Here's kind of a little component that'll help you stay authenticated for certain pages in Supabase and Next.js.